Hey crafters, a warm welcome to my channel. As always, it's lovely to have your company today. I am here popping in with a video using that brand new Magnolia Stem, which has just been released on our website. Well, it has at the time of recording this video, which is the beginning of June 2025. So today, how are we going to use this? Well, I really wanted to show you how I use this with my colour shift ink pads. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I like to be able to mix and match colours. So what I'm able to do is grab two of the ink pads and mix and match those colours to create a different colour. So I'm going to bring in the folder and I'm going to bring in some cardstock and I'm going to bring in the layering stencils. Now that's upside down. Let's turn that around that way. And let me bring in some of my ink pads. So the colour shift, you hear me noisily in the background grabbing ink pads. The colour shift are gorgeous. The colour shift are one of those inks that you think you didn't need, but when you see everybody using them, you go, yeah, I get it. So colour shift are literally what they say on the tin. They change colour. So looking here, you can see it says that they're a matte finish and a shimmer. So how is that even a thing? So basically there is like a fusion of pigment and dye and mica and all sorts of things in here. It's almost like alchemy, really. So on your white cardstock, you're going to get the green, but you'll get a matte chalky finish, but it will still be shiny. And then on your dark card, you will get the blue colour, but it will still be shiny, but it will be a little bit more softer than you would get from out interference inks. So I think the best thing to do is just use them and show you. Now I'm using this gorgeous Magnolia Stem, which is stunning, just stunning. And I might emboss it, I might not, I don't know yet, but let's see how we go during the course of the video. I'm definitely stenciling because that's what we have here. We have our ultimate and we have our stencils. So I'll set the Magnolia Stem folder to one side and I might actually cut this piece of cardstock down, but let me just show you. I'm working on my tacky mat. So this is the cover of the tacky mat. Tacky mat underneath here. So the tacky mat, for those of you who don't know, it is ultra sticky. So when I say sticky, it's not sticky to the touch, but it's sticky to the card. And it means that your card doesn't move around an awful lot whilst we are demonstrating. So let me just push that back for a moment. And let's bring this piece of card in. Now this is 160 GSM. So this isn't a heavyweight card, but it's enough for what we're doing. So I'm literally going to cut this in half and I'm going to see how wide it is. Yep, that fits perfectly on there. And then we'll discard the rest of the card, which can be used for another video. Now, let's bring the ultimate back in. Now the ultimate, you will see, has 6 pegs across the top. It has rulers down either side for you, just as a bonus. And then on the back, it has a scoring element. Now, this isn't your traditional scoring tool because it has got no markings, but it just has the element across here, just so if you want to score something, you can measure it with your ruler and then come over and just score the line at where you've measured. But the other thing about the Ultimate 2 is inside here is a die. In the top you have like let me grab one. You have one of these in the top and it has the ability to change the ends, and it also has a picky uppy wax tool on it as well. But it also has this die. Now this die means if you've got your own stencils, maybe you use a Cricut, maybe you use a scan and cut, what you can do is cut your own stencils if you want to, or you can cut into your card and hook it over the top. So if you don't have the tacky mat, you can make sure your card just stays in position. I turn my mat around, or my ultimate around, and I tend to butt up in the bottom corner and I place my card down. So now my card is on, but if I want to lift it, I could just take it off. But for now, We just want to make sure that card is flat down here, and we want to bring in our stencils. So let's start with the stencil number 1, as always. Now this one is pretty good. It has 6 stencils. It's not too many, not too much of a I want to say not a job. It happens very quickly with the less stencils you have. However, I like the ones that have lots of stencils too, because I can get real depth of detail. So what I'm going to do now is, off camera, I put the rest of the stencils. So I put stencil number 1 down in the top corner. Let me see if I can get that on the light. There you go. There's a number 1. So that sits over here like so. And now we do some of our colouring. So what do we do first? So I can see these are like floral elements, and I can see on here we've got these pretty floral elements. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a couple of colours. We're going to bring in some of our matte blending ink as well, just so you can see how they all mix and match together, because I think this is really, really important. And I'm going to bring in one colour which is called Coral Beach. Coral Beach is really pretty. It's a very pale pink, like a peachy pink. You can see that. Very, very beautiful. Now I'm covering up my artwork for the moment, but it doesn't matter for now. And all I'm going to do is grab a stencil brush like so, and I'm going to take my ink and I'm going to gently put colour on here. Now I'm not going to over colour, so I'm going to come off the page, I'm going to come around the edge, and I'm going to be quite light with my application. So you can see now it's pretty. I'm going to come on to the next flower, dab off a little bit because I don't want it too heavy. I'm going to come back here. Now you can do your peonies, or not your peonies, your magnolias, whatever colour you want. I just thought like a peony shape. I'm kind of fantasy colouring my peony. I am fantasy colouring my magnolias. Let's get that one right. And yeah, I quite like this colour. I think I've seen magnolias a little bit tinged of pink or peach, not as heavy as what I'm doing now though, obviously. So all over, and I'm being delicate with the colour. That's why I'm having to pop back in and out, because I don't want to over colour. And we'll leave that like so, and that's going to be perfect. So that goes back on there, and this is to show you how you can use your blending inks with your colour shift ink pads as well. And we're now going to bring in our Coral Waters. Now the Coral Waters is a colour shifting pad. So this is one of those that is going to change colour on different colour cardstocks. So what we need to do is bring in a brush that's going to work with that. Now let's lift off layer 1, and you'll see it's a very pretty pink colour. So what we do is we take our stencil face down and pop that to one side, and we come in with stencil number 2. And this one is going to be the Coral Waters, as I said. And when you take the lid off, you can see it's darker. Now again, I'm going to take this and I'm going to be quite gentle on this card. But what I do want to show you is how they look on black card as well as white card. So let's bring this black card in for you. And you can see now, what we'll do is we'll place that here. So first of all, we will do the Coral Waters on white card. I'll show you. It's so gorgeous. It really is a lovely colour. And that's really pretty. You can see it blends like an absolute dream. So you've got the matte blending element to this, but it also gives you the ability to have the colour change as well. So straight over the top, and you can see interference is wonderful, and it will always be one of my favourite ink pads, but it can be tricky to get a seamless blend because it's designed to be an independent colour, whereas these are designed to blend as well as shift in that colour change. So let's do that like so. So I'm going to leave that like that. But what I'm going to do is, while I've got you here, you can see that is like a peachy colour, peachy coral. If I put this colour onto black card, you can see it looks what like you got the kind of the matte tone coming through there. I'm going to leave that like so. And then I'm going to put the lid on here and I'm going to show you the magic. Now, please bear with the colour, allow it to dry. But when I do this, same ink pad. Can you see that kind of matte finish as well as a chalky finish? It's got matte, chalky surface, but it's still got that shimmer coming through. So beautiful. So here, I can't lift this one up yet, obviously, because we are doing our colour. But when I kind of duck down and turn around and have a look at this in the light, I can see it's got a hint of shimmer on it as well. So you really can use these in many different ways. So let's come in with stencil number 3. And this is now where we start to bring in our greens. And what I'll do is I'll keep this piece of card here and I'll show you, look at that. I will show you how the colour changes as we go. So now we need a green brush. Now remember as well, I highly recommend that you use a brush for your interference inks because they've got the shimmer in them. And you can also use the same brushes for your metallics. However, colour shift, because they've got that matte finish, keep the brushes separate. And of course your matte blending inks have separate brushes as well. So now we've got the summer sky, and this is where the blending comes into its own. Let's move that here just a second. I'm making a little bit of a mess here, aren't I? So take our brush and we'll do the green all over. Now this green is like a yellowy green, and this is why we don't have a yellow in the collection yet. Partly also because I needed to do complementary colours. So I wanted to do a lighter yellow and a darker yellow. So you've got the blending ability. So that will come in release 2. Now here, super bright, isn't that? Super, super bright. You might be saying, well, oh, Lisa, that is just so bright. I would never have had my leaves that colour. Well, you don't have to now. So if I lift this up, it is awfully pretty. No dimension to it though, no dimension. So what we do is we bring in the avocado gold. I will go back to the summer sky in a minute, but let me just show you the colour of this. So this is a much darker green. So bringing back in that summer sky, what we'll do is we'll put the summer sky onto the black card, and I'll leave that. So leave that for a moment. And then we'll use, I'll take off excess ink there. I'm going to use a different brush actually in here because this is a much darker green. And I'll make sure this is good as well. So what I'll do now is I will put the black card with the green ink. You can see, you can't see a lot, but you will in a minute. But what I'm now going to do is I'm going to use this ink and I'm going to come into this one side and I'm going to do some blending. So you can do it as heavy or as light as you like. I'm going in quite heavy because obviously I've got another layer of leaves to go, and I want to make sure I can give those a different tone as well. So here we go, just down here, right down the bottom here. And then when I lift this one up, make sure I covered those bits. You can see now that's got a little bit more dimension to it and a little bit of shading going on here. And when I lift this up now, so you've got here, you've got your summer sky, and here you've got your avocado gold. So look at the difference. Oh, these two are different, but you can't see it particularly well on here. So now you can see we haven't used a blue, a purple or a gold, have we, anywhere? But honestly, stunning, stunning. So we'll leave this one out, the avocado gold, and we'll come on to stencil number 4 and we'll go directly in with that avocado gold now. See what I've got left on that brush, not a lot. So we'll come in avocado gold all over where we need to be, and then we're going to do a little bit more colour changing again because we can. This one loves being mixed with Lagoon Punch. This is going to give us a really deep shadow to it. I'm just going to bring that over here. You can see how juicy these ink pads are. Very, very juicy. But also immensely blendable, immensely. So we'll leave that like so, pop the lid back on here, and then I'll lift that up and show you. So you can see now, you've kind of lost a bit of the colour change definition, as in they both look a similar green, but we need to bring in Lagoon Punch. So Lagoon Punch, controversial statement, I feel this could be my favourite colour. Let me find a brush. Okay, so this is obviously a grey blue. So what we'll do is we'll take the colour first of all, and we'll pop it on here so I can show you shortly how that looks. And I'm going to leave that actually. Let me do a bigger area for you. It's not a very big area. And now I'm not going to add any more ink to this brush, and you'll see when I go off here why, because that is very blue. However, when you mix it lightly with your green, you see that? It absolutely takes on a completely different tone. So I dab off here, completely different tone to it. So it gives you such dimension. And I'm going to use that as my palette now. I'm going to grab some here and make sure I cover only half of the leaf. If I need a little bit more, pop it there and then come down here. There we go. And over here, just fill in some of these areas. And you'll see in a minute when I lift this up that it has completely changed that green. Still green, but it isn't as green as it was. Look at that. This starts to come together now. And now we have one more set of leaves. Why have you got all the leaves on different layers, you say? Because this. This is why. So now what you can do now is you can make decisions. If I put this colour down now, look at this. This is quite blue. You see that? But I'm going to lift that off in a minute and show you. It's quite blue. So it's not really what I want. But if we put the blue down first and then put something over the top, we can get a different look again. So let's bring that blue in again, and then we'll dab off again up here a lot. And then we're quite light and we'll come all the way over these colours, bring that in. Just treat it as if it's you're cleaning your brush off. Don't treat it like you're putting colour down. Just you're wiping your brush. You've just finished using it and you want to use a different colour. That's how I'm treating this area. So it's kind of almost not a solid colour, just filling in those gaps there. Now the centre of the flowers, I'll change the colour up in a minute. So I'm going to leave that like that. So it's very light. There's not a lot of colour there. It's almost like waste colour. But what I will do is I will bring in my Peanut Glow. Now Peanut Glow, again, you know, make me choose my favourite. This is where it gets tricky. So this is like a brown, but on here it's gold. So I'll show you that as well. That you can see that quite quickly actually. So on the bottom you can see Lagoon Punch. And at the top you can see the gold. So you've got like a different blue to here, and you've got a different gold to here, and here you've got a pink, and there is another pink if you use watermelon spritz. So again, they mix and match on black and white card. So what I'm going to do is just these little flower centres, just add a little bit of this in the middle. I could, if I wanted to, go over those leaves with this colour, but I don't really want the leaves brown. So I'm going to go back in with this one, which is the Summer Sky. And you'll see it will brighten up those dark leaves, but it won't be the same as the other leaves. So if I bring that like so, around here, all over here, and down here. Make sure you don't get too much brown from the other petals contaminating your brush. So that's that. There is one more layer, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Stunning, stunning, stunning. So the centers look great, the flowers look great, the leaves look great. What you can do is you can come back in with this layer and you can add all the veins. I don't really want the veins because I'm going to get the veins from the embossing folder in a minute. But I will take a brush and I'm going to bring in Fruit Punch, which we haven't used yet. And Fruit Punch, I'm just going to do these two pieces here. Look, just these, or these three pieces. These are your tops of your flowers. Now, you could do them yellow if you wanted to use yellow. You could put a white down first and then put yellow over the top. But I think that would be good enough for me. Yeah, I think they look great. Absolutely great. But this one is your Fruit Punch. So you've seen it's pink. But now if we put this on black card, it's a gold, pinky gold. You can't really see it because the camera's catching that gold, but you can see it's different to these as well. So all of them just very, very clever and very, very cool. So let's have a little tidy up and let's get the die cutting machine out. Now in this stencil set, you not only get the 6 stencils, you get a die. Now the die is fantastic because it cuts out the outside edge of the Magnolia Stem, which is wonderful. Damaging my artwork. And I spent all that time doing that. So I'm going to pop that like so, and I'm going to tape it down. So I've got my low tack masking tape. I'm going to bring it towards me, apologies, so I can just see, because otherwise I'll get my head in the camera. Just bear with me a second while I do this. Not an exact science, never is, because you tend to move your stencil a little bit, or, you know, your cardstock shifted a bit while you were doing something. Don't let it worry you too much. So what we'll do is we'll bring in our die cutting machine. I'll move that out of the way. And we'll bring in our beautiful platy green. And we need our base platform. We also need, let me get them out of my drawer, we need our adapter plate, and then we need our 2 cutting plates, and that is as tough as it gets. Let's move the machine out of the way. Already I can see it's glorious. Just be careful with it. There we go. So I did move it very slightly at the top, you can see that, but you know, it's fine. But now look at that, the artwork straight away. How stunning is that? But we don't leave it there. Of course, we use our embossing folder, and we take our embossing folder and we open it up, and inside we pop our artwork. And then we line that up and we close that folder and we run that through. So for this we need base platform, and then we need the adapter or the shim. Then I put my folder in, and I often put a piece of card in, and then I put my plate on. And I'm going to just do this off camera very quickly. And let's open this, remove the plates. I'll show you now. What a world of difference. I'm hoping you'll be able to pick that up with all the detail. Let me see if, yes, you can see that. You can see that straight away with all the detail. And let me bring you into camera 3 where I can get a full-on close-up. Now, forgive me for it not being lined up perfectly, but I think you can see how beautiful that is. So now remember the deboss side, look at that. And this is only on a 160 GSM, but can you see why I didn't worry about putting that last stencil on that has all the veins? But I don't know if you can pick up the shimmer as well. There's a lot of shimmer going on there. Very, very pretty. So now I'll pop you back to camera 4. Now what we can do now is we can add this and create a very, very quick little project with it. And what I tend to do is I tend to offset and give us another layer. So what do I mean by that? I mean, I take the die. Now this die, this cardstock isn't big enough, so I'll grab a bigger piece of card. But what we do is we take the die and we cut a second one out in black. This gives us an appearance of a drop shadow. So let's take this, and what I'll do is I'll cut this out and I will be back with you in just a second. So now we've got that extra piece cut out like so. Okay, and then all we do is glue these together, but we glue these and we offset them. So we literally offset it like so. You see that? That makes sense? What I'll do is I'm going to bring the camera in just a little bit. There we are. And then I'm going to glue that together. I might bring in a piece of cardstock just to sit underneath. Okay, piece of white cardstock. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to pop some glue on the back. And we'll just pop the glue just all over. Pop a little bit on the stem. But remember, because you've got the rise and fall on the folder, make sure you cover some of the rise as well as the fall. Otherwise, you are not going to have it adhere in the places you need it to. Let's put the lid back on that little bottle. And then we'll grab our tweezers and I'll turn this, bring that here. I'll turn this one over and we will place this now just down like so, okay? And I'm going to place it off, as I said, off the edge, like that. Just give it a little wiggle, lift it up, make sure I've got it where I want it to be. So can you see that already? It's given you that beautiful appearance of a shadow, which is what I really, really like. And then I'm going to pop some foam pads on the reverse. A couple here. I'll put one up here. You can be way more sensible, careful, you know, add more if you want to. I actually have here the die that went with this collection. This is the textured magnolia background. So what I thought we could do is create a pretty background to go with the folder. Okay, so again, I will cut this off screen and I'm going to bring in some black and white card for this. I'm going to literally trim this down. Okay, let's see how big it needs to be. Let's do it 5x7. So let's get our paper trimmer and we will cut this so it fits within the confines of the folder. Normally I would use my ish card, but I didn't bring it into studio today because I wasn't planning on using it. However, hindsight is a wonderful thing. So that's still a little bit too big. And this is the benefit of having the ish card, isn't it? Look at that. So I wouldn't have to do any of this measuring. It would all be ready for me. So that's the width. And I want to go around here. I'm not going to be too fussy. I'm just going to check. There we go. Approximately there. I'm not going to stress the exact measurements. I just want to make sure it fits in the confines of that folder. So what I'll do again, I will lift this up and I will place the cardstock inside the folder where I want it to be. And now this is a beautiful folder. If you do not have this in your collection, I highly recommend this. It has in the background, it has this beautiful texture. If I show you on the embossing folder, I don't know if you can see, but in the back it's got all of this, it's like Hessian, just little Hessian pieces in the background. It's very, very beautiful. And we'll run that through. And that's without me even popping that on camera 3, you can see. And now you can see that Hessian detail in the background. I 100% recommend, if you don't have this one, grab it. Really is beautiful. So I'm going to grab that, or leave that live so, and then I'm going to grab a piece of black card again. And we're going to trim the black card down. I'm going to use that piece that I used before. And that's going to be much easier to manage. I'm going to use my wonderful guillotine again from my collaboration with Spellbinders. And let's bring that across here to, I'm going to go to 12 centimetres. Yep, it may be a little wide, but that's fine. We can trim it off afterwards. And then we'll come around this end and we'll cut that down as well. So again, this is as tricky as it gets for me for measuring. I'll have it around there. Now I can see straight away that that fits, but I could do with taking a little tiny bit off. So we'll come in just a couple of mil, and then this way a couple of mil. And we'll lay it down. We'll have a look and see how it fares. Let's turn that over. It's got a little mark on it. There we are. That's great. That's pretty good. A little bit of a tip, always leave a tiny little bit longer at the bottom than you do at the sides. It's something that picture framers do. Now you can put foam pads on the back. For speed, I'm going to go with a tape runner. And let's see. Normally I would not recommend a tape runner for something like this, simply because it's not going to hold forever. You know, this one has got so many rises and falls in it again, but that one's run out. But that will be not what I would recommend. I would normally recommend you get yourself some wet glue for this, or some 3D foam pads. And now all I do is pop that down like so. So we've got that beautiful background, and it works this way as well, I think, and that way. So you can have it whichever way you want, really. I think I'll have a look at the artwork and decide where I want it. Or do I want it that way? I think I like it. Oh, now there's a choice. No, I like it that way. So all I'm going to do is going to pop that on here. Take off these foam pads off the back. And we'll have that around, I would say around there. That's going to sit nicely. And look at the way that sits up like so. Now you can make your own card blank for this, just simply by folding your card in half. If you want to, you can do it black or white card, entirely up to you. Let's see what I've got. Some nice thick card. Let's get that Ultimate out. Remember I said we have that scoring tool on here. So I'm not really, this is again why I've done this, because all I want to be able to do is roughly mark on my Ultimate where I need to be. So let's bring our ball tool in. So I know lining that up, I want that, I'd say around there. And then take that away, and then I will just line that up. So now I can fold that in half, and I know that's the width of my card blank. And then this extra piece here I'll trim off, so we can take that out of the way. Take this to around here. There we go, there's your card blank, but we've just trimmed the bottom off as well. So I can decide where that goes, and we'll turn that around and I will mark where I want it to be. There we go, I've marked that there. And we'll put that like so. So that cut through 600 GSM there, which is fine. And now all we need to do is adhere this to the front. This time I will come back with a wet glue, simply because my tape runner has expired. And we'll pop that on the front. You can add your sentiment. You can add whatever you want to this. I don't think I've got one handy. I'll have a look. If I have, I will. If I haven't, I won't. But just to give you an idea of how quickly you can make super pretty card using just a few products really. I'll have a look quickly to see if I have a sentiment in my little box of scraps. It's not really scraps, it's my box of everything. Let's have a look. I don't know that I have. If I haven't, we'll leave it. No, it doesn't look like I have. So all I would say to you is find yourself a little sentiment that you like. And you can, I mean, you could leave it as it is if you wanted to, totally. But it'd be quite nice, a little sentiment across the bottom, over here, a little one up there if you wanted to. But I think sometimes you just don't need to. And that to me just says hi, doesn't it? But if you've got a die that you can fit on there or a set of stamps, we have some new ones coming soon, which you might like. You can absolutely do that. But that was a quick video into how to use our Magnolia Stem 3D embossing folder, layering stencil, and these wonderful, let me move that up a little bit for you, these wonderful colour shift, colour changing ink pads. They are just incredible. I think you're going to love them. I think you can see how they blend, how easy they are to work with, and how you can create a really